into my message, because even though that is a message about community, I had another message that was in mind to talk to you today, that community happens when my best isn't good enough. And I wanted to talk to you just a few moments about that. You know, on most days, I do adulting pretty well. I get up, I manage to keep myself whole and try to feed myself pretty well. I try to hydrate as best as I can. And on a particular day, not too many days ago, I was adulting real good. I had gotten myself up on time. I had a dentist appointment that was early in the morning, 8:20 a.m. And for some of you may realize I get up early in the morning, but sometimes it's till later in the day before I'm appropriate for outside living. But this morning I was on it. I knew that I had an appointment early in the morning. I had figured out my best means of getting there. The night before, I had contacted the taxi company because I figured out the most efficient route was to take a taxi to the Hospital del Rio, take the number 16 bus, which lets me off right in front of my dentist office, and I could do it in about 45 minutes. So I had planned a little over an hour into my schedule. I had gotten up, I had gotten dressed, I had fed myself, I had made the tea, I had hydrated, I had my tokens and my bus card in my coin purse that was tucked strategically in my purse. That's the purse that I can have that has security figured in because I can put my arm on the strap so that even if someone pulls it away, I've got it close to my body and protected. I had thought of everything. I had gotten there, got off the bus at the right location, and as I walked up to the building and looked at my phone, I realized I had 15 minutes to spare. I was proud of myself. And my dentist office is on the second floor, which really is the third floor. I don't understand the numbering. And I got halfway up, 1.5 flights of stairs, and the notion hit me that something got missed. I'm at the dentist office. My appointment is in 15 minutes. And I, for the very first time, reflected on my last consultation with my doctor, who had advised me to go after and get my x-rays done and get the medicine. By having an artificial knee, I have to take antibiotics as a preventive measure before I do any kind of dental work. And I'm supposed to take these 4 pills 1 hour in advance. I had done that part. But as I got up a 1.5 flights of stairs, midway between the third floor, which is really the second floor by the numbers on the door, and I realized that those x-rays that I had immediately gone and gotten, had braved the rain, tucked them in my clothes to get them home safely, I realized those x-rays were sitting on my kitchen counter. And all of my adulting, all of the pride that I had because I had gotten there on time, I had used my tokens, my coins, and my bus card. I had paid attention to my app to know which bus stop to get off. I had gotten dressed. I had eaten. I had hydrated. I had done everything except for the important thing. Because you see, my doctor needed those x-rays to see how my teeth were. Dilemma. I'm alone in a country far, far, far away from home, with a little bit of Spanish. And my immediate thought was, I have a support team in life, my chosen family. And so, with the boldness of a 5-year-old, who doesn't know no for an answer. I WhatsApped my neighbor. One of my neighbors I know, like me, is up at 6 o'clock, piddling around the house for no reason whatsoever, except we can, and the sun's up, and we better figure out what we're going to do today. And I called and said, Christine, I was doing a really good job of adulting. At least that's what I was telling myself until just a moment ago when I realized that I was absolutely not prepared for this dentist visit. And she said the infamous words of community, what do you need? And I said, as I inhaled, I've gotten myself in a predicament, and let me just be honest. What I really need, if I'm being totally honest, is I need somebody to go to my house, get these x-rays, jump in a taxi cab right now and bring them to me. That's what I really, really need. And I got a stash of cash, so there's some taxi cab money in my apartment. And the response I got, you know, when you ask something and you kind of hesitate, because it's not anyone else's job to tend to my responsibilities for taking care of myself. And I knew this, but the honest answer was I needed help. The best of my abilities. I'm reasonably intelligent. I've taken care of several children reasonably well. They're reasonably sane adults raising reasonably sane grandchildren, even though they wake up out of a dead sleep talking about bubbles. And yet, here I was, and I couldn't tend to the business of my own life at 8:05 in the morning, and I needed help. The best that I could do wasn't good enough. There was not enough time for me to get a taxi, take it home, bring these x-rays back. And she said, I'm on it. But the story doesn't stop there. Because there's a whole lot of things, and as I thought about this message, there's a whole lot of values. You guys hear me talk about that. Are we living our values? And there's some values that I thought about that were relevant in this situation. One of the values is sometimes I can't meet my own needs. As competent as I am, as able as I am in a lot of things on that particular day, I couldn't meet all my needs. But I also have a value that says it's okay to ask for help in doing life. It's nobody else's responsibilities to tend to the things that were important to me and that were for my own best interest, keeping my teeth in my head as long as possible in this existence that I'm living. But in my existence, in my family of origin, that's a value I've had to really work on. Because in my family of origin, asking for help was not something that was often received and responded to in love. So I've had to do work to recognize that that value that I picked up in life, that you do it yourself, you don't ever need help. I had to do some healing work so that on this day, I could live the value that says it is okay to ask for help, while balancing the value that says it's no one's responsibility to take care of my needs. But there were other values that played out in this adventure, one of many, as you can imagine, because there also was the value that says we put trust in our chosen family. Even though Rumi tells us that sometimes we have to do the come again, because we fail each other, we don't keep our covenants of love and these affirmations that we say about how we're going to be in love and in connectedness with each other. But there was trust. My neighbor had a key to my house. My neighbor knew what we affectionately call the vault was located so that she could get taxi money because she's on a fixed income, and that might have caused some distress in her finances to have to spend money unexpectedly. But there was also the willingness, the value that says that I have the opportunity to volunteer my time and energy when I choose. And she chose to volunteer her time and her energy to come and do something that was not her responsibility, tending to my teeth. And as I thought about community, there was another value that I realized. And it's a value that says my chosen community, my spiritual community, in this case, my physical, chosen, do life together community, should be a safe place to ask for help. You see, it wasn't just my need for help, because I could have just suffered the consequences, rescheduled my appointments, whatever the cost for a last-minute cancellation, or I could have gone to the doctor, had my cleaning, and then had to come back for another assessment once she had the x-rays. And all of those would have been just punishment for not remembering the important step of my day. I could have judged myself and beat myself up. How could you miss the most important thing? But because community is a safe place where I can ask for help, I felt very emboldened to call at 8:05 in the morning and say, would you please be my neighbor? And would you please let yourself into my home? Go into the vault and get some taxi money and come swiftly drop me off these x-rays. And the response I got was, I'm on it. And in addition to that, because community was doing a good job on that day on my behalf, she says, and do you want me to bring your umbrella too? Because I see you left it. And if some of you know, I have an ongoing battle with remembering my umbrella. And even after getting stuck in the rain, I stopped by the dispatch office for the taxi company that I use often. And I wanted to put a face with the people and forgot my umbrella again. And on this day, I got 2 blocks away in the taxi cab, and I remembered that I forgot it, but I'm on a plan and I can't turn around. But because of community, she says, do you want your umbrella too? And my response to her was, you know I do, and you probably already have it and are already in the taxi cab already. And she was. It reminded me that community is what happens when my best isn't good enough. None of us are perfect. I mean, y'all probably are not perfect. Let me not speak for any of you. Each one of us has challenges in our life where our shortcomings, our deficiencies, our lack, our mistakes, our forgetfulness, just life in general, keeps us from being at 100% on any given day. But that is the opportunity for us to do community. You see, my need created an opportunity for us to do community. And community often blooms great adventures. You see, let me tell you the post log to the story. Not only did she come just as the doctor was finishing up and would have needed to look at these x-rays, I heard the doorbell when you walk in that says, "Welcome, bienvenido," in English and in Spanish. And I see someone come in with the magical appearance of my x-rays. And as I walk out after finishing my appointment, I see my neighbor sitting in the waiting room with the newspaper and my umbrella and a chuckle that says, "Did I make it in time?" And the answer is absolutely. And it makes me grateful. It's grateful because community is the key. We don't do life alone. None of us. Even me coming to a foreign country that speaks a foreign language with not a relative in sight, coming and being able to recognize community, even in a foreign place, and to know that none of us are called to this ideal of perfection. We're called to be loving. We're called to be honest. We're called to be sincere in our search for truth and in our own personal growth. We're called to all of those things. But in my life, those things lead to a wonky and adventurous world that allows others space to be community with me. And so today, my challenge to you, my question to you is, does your need for perfection hinder the opportunity for others to be community to you? And do you provide the safe space where it's okay for others to come to you in their time of need? My challenge, as always, is it's us, people. It's us that's going to change the world. It's us living these values in real time. And I'm grateful that my chosen community, my chosen family in Ecuador knows these values too. Marla, would you share your screen and share? This was a song I'd never heard before, but it speaks of community. It speaks of us holding hands. And so before our chalice extinguishing, I want you to listen to the words of this song.